Hello, I'm Axel from the Scheduler team, and I'm going to walk you through the installation of the Scheduler app. This is from the perspective of an organization. It's a demo account on Zoho CRM, where we're going to be installing the scheduler. This is the demo account, by the way. We'll be installing the scheduler to this organization and setting it up from scratch. So as soon as you install the scheduler app from the marketplace, you'll be taken to the login page, and it will look something like this. You'll hit login and it will detect that there's no users already signed in, and it will prompt you to sign in as an administrator, in which case you have to sign in as a Zoho admin. It'll connect through to your Zoho account and you'll have to authorize the permissions, and it will take you back to the account, the scheduler account, to prompt you to start your 14-day trial. So you click on start 14-day trial and you're in. The first thing you need to do is within settings, you've got a few tasks that you need to do. So you need to create your first workflow. And before you create your first workflow, there's some fields that you need to create on the CRM. So we're going to do this as a, let's say, leads to deals, for example, module, or leads to accounts, doesn't matter. Let's do leads to accounts. So you can call this whatever you want, but you have to specify the source module and the destination module. The source module is where the leads are. Let's call it leads. The source records. So whenever you're scheduling appointments using the scheduler, you're going to be initiating those appointment requests from a specific module. And by the way, it could be the same module. It could be that you start from leads and end on leads. It could be you start from accounts and end on accounts, or start on accounts, end on contacts. It varies on the workflow, depends on the requirements of the organization. In this particular example, we can start on leads and end on accounts and take it from there, but it will be essentially wherever the source data is, wherever the data of the records that the appointment request is originating from, and that will be the source module. And the destination module will be wherever the data is going to be sent to once the appointment has been processed by the scheduler. Where would you like the appointment data to be sent to? That will be the destination, a record on the destination module. If you have selected leads and you have selected a different destination module, what will happen within Zoho CRM is that the lead will be converted. And when the lead is converted, it's converted to an account, a deal or a sale, and a contact. And we use standard conversion mapping to map the fields over, but in a second you'll see what options you have for mapping in the example that we're providing here, and you'll be able to see the mapping and in any case, whichever workflow option you select. So the first page you're taken to once you create the workflow is the overview of the workflow. Here you can see the ID of the workflow, which might come in handy because the ID of the workflow references which workflow you're working with. You could have 20 different workflows. The ID is the way the application references the schedule. You got the source and the destination module listed on here as well. You can also change the name if you wish to change the name of the workflow. The next section is mapping. Within mapping, you have to select, you have to map the application fields of each module to their destination. So in this case, you got booking agent. On the lead source, who is meant to be the booking agent. So typically that will be the lead owner, but it could be a custom field that you've selected for the booking agent. That's no problem, but it has to be mapped in order for the workflow to work. Set the street on the source module. We can say that's a street field. The city, we'll say that's the city field, and the postcode, that's the postcode field. These fields are important because the application will require, it needs to know where the data is originating from. So when we run a lookup field on the record ID that's originating the appointment request, we need to know where that appointment is located in order to be able to generate the slot options for the new appointment. The customer email will be the email typically of the source module, unless you have another custom field. Now, in the destination module, which in our case is accounts, you have to specify what field is related to the field agent. In our case, because it's a new Zoho organization, we don't have that field. It could be the account owner. That's perfectly normal. But it could also be a custom field. In our case, let's say it's the account owner. And the booking date and time will be when is the appointment? What date and time is the appointment? In our case, we would normally have a custom field created for this. So let's go back to Zoho CRM and just create a custom field for the booking date time. And we go into the customization, and we're going to do it in accounts, standard view, and we're going to create a date time field for the booking date time. appointment date, and we'll have to also create another field for the end date time. So when is the appointment ending? Appointment end date time, and it's actually a date time field, so we'll say date time. And one more field that is indispensable, is a required field from the scheduler side, is the record ID of the source field, and that will be a normal single line text field, and we'll say source record ID, and you'll see later on what it's used for. It's primarily used for referencing back the calendar invite. So when I'll walk you through the flow, when you send out when you request an appointment through the scheduler, you have the option to book it straight on the scheduler, like you'll see in a second. And when you click on book, it comes up, a modal comes up requesting you to confirm the email of the customer or prospect that you're dealing with. Once you've confirmed that email, a calendar invite email goes straight out to the customer. And the customer has the option to accept or decline that invite request. But at the moment that happens, the appointment hasn't been completely booked yet, because the booking agent has to go through a booking form detailing and entering details of that appointment. That could take a few minutes, and during that time the customer could have already accepted the calendar invite, in which case we need to log the acceptance somewhere. And once the appointment's been booked and the lead has been converted or the record has been updated in the CRM, we will then update the CRM to reference that this appointment has been accepted. We normally do this through the meeting module, and you'll see this in a second on the meeting module, what it looks like. But we need to be able to reference the source record and the destination record. If it's a different record, we need to have that source record ID listed on here as a required field. The next is the street, city, and postcode on the accounts, which we already have built in, so that's all good. So now we've entered that field, but what's happened here is that we don't have this yet on the scheduler app, because we need to synchronize the CRM fields. So to do that, we need to go over to the General tab and hit Sync CRM Fields, and that will trigger a synchronization of all the fields that are on the CRM. It happens when you first log in anyway, but because we've added new fields, we need to trigger the synchronization so that the synchronization happens again and that any new fields get sent over. So we can go back here, and now we should see the booking date time field that we've added. Maybe I'll have to refresh the page. Booking date time, no, not showing up. Why is that? Did I save this? Appointment date time. That is probably why I put the wrong name in. Appointment date time. Oh, that's the end date time, sorry. Appointment date time and booking up the end date time. Here we go. So now I need to go back and redo these because I refreshed the page thinking I was, let's have a look. So city and postcode, email, field agent will be the account owner. And then we got the appointment date time and daytime end. Source record ID will be there. The street will be the billing street. City will be the billing city. And the postcode will be the postcode, or the zip code. Billing code, I think it's called in Zoho. Billing code. Okay, good. So that's now done. We're going to save these changes on the mapping. The next section you want to fill in is the booking agent data entry. What this means is that when the appointment's been booked, the booking agent will have a set number of fields that they will have to fill in by default if you've added any data in here. This is if you want the agent to enter any notes, if you want the agent to enter any details of what they spoke to the customer of over the phone about. So let's say, for example, here in the accounts module, we want them to enter maybe a fax number, and we also want them to enter some notes. And that's it, let's say. So let's save these changes. You can add multiple fields here from different modules if you want to, but let's keep it simple for now. The next one is default field values. So default field values are mappings that the booking agent won't see, but that they will be happening in the background every time there's a booking. So if, for example, if I wanted to hard code within the accounts field, I want to say, for example, the SIC code, or I don't know, I'm just making it up here, but let's say a description, right? Booked with the scheduler application. Just for example, we'll put a little string here so that every appointment is booked. There's a description that's added to the destination module, which is accounts, that says booked with the scheduler application, just as an example here. The next thing we'll see is we need to check is the preview of the booking form. So in this case, the booking form preview section will show you 2 accordion menus where you can specify the order of how things show up in the front end. So booking agent, customer email address, you can specify which fields are visible in the booking form within the mapping field. So for example, if I don't want the booking agent to be visible, I just untick view here. I don't really want the agent to see the street and the city, but the postcode, yeah, we'll keep that in there. Customer email, yeah, we'll keep that in there. Field agent, we'll keep that in there. And then the date and time, we'll keep that in there as well. So we'll save these changes. We'll go back to the booking form preview, and what we've done is now reflected in the booking form preview. I actually wanted to see the company name as well. So I'm going to go back up here, and I'm going to map the lead, or the company name of the lead. I'm going to map that to the account name. And then I'm going to make sure that's viewable and non-editable. The edit field, by the way, when it's available, it allows booking agents to edit the field on the booking form. So if you wanted, for any reason, to give booking agents the option to edit things like first name, last name, street name, details that could be wrong on the CRM that the booking agent could then confirm with the customer over the phone. It would then allow them, if you have the edit option ticked, it would allow them to edit those fields on the booking form, so that when the lead is converted or the appointment's updated onto the CRM, those updated details are pushed through to the CRM. So here we go back to the booking form preview, and you can see we've got the account name now showing here. So I want the account name to be at the top. So I'm going to drag this up to the top. After the account name, I'd like to have the email, and then I'd like to have the field agent that's been booked in for this, the booking date, time, and finally the postcode. So I'll just save this now. And here we've got the input details that the agent will be inputting that we set up in the booking agent data entry field. And this is fine. This order is fine. Facts first, and then the notes on record. This is all fine. Next section is the users. So who or the people that are allowed to use this workflow, and also the field agents. So here we're going to say field agents. We're going to say Alex is the field agent because we only have one user in this test organization. Alex is also the user of this workflow, and Alex is also the administrator. So to explain this in a brief sense, you've got field agents are the people that are going to be setting the appointments or visiting the customers or the prospects. And users will be the users that are allowed to utilize this workflow. So if you might have 4 or 5 different workflows, one for sales, one for service, and you can even split them in between. And you have different users that will be booking appointments, utilizing these workflows to book appointments. So you can control who can use the workflows from this section. And finally, administrators allows you to define who in your Zoho organization is going to be able to edit this workflow, who's going to be able to manage this workflow. And that's set up from the administrators panel. Administrator section. So we'll save these changes and move on to the next section, the time section. So the time settings will determine all time related properties for the workflow. So in this case, you got days in advance. So we're going to say, how many days in advance would you like appointments to be scheduled in? And this is useful for sales team that, for example, don't want to book appointments that are more than 5 days in advance. So you want all your appointments to be booked this week, or maybe 10 days in advance, maybe 20. Where you don't allow your booking agents to book appointments more than X amount of days in advance. So in this case, I'll say 10 days in advance is pretty fine. The next section is your agent time block. If this is enabled, you will have the option to block out time in the CRM for a particular agent. So for example, I'll enable it here, and I'll just save this setting, and I'll go back to the CRM. In order for this to work, you need to have in your events module, like it says here, a meeting status called time block. And whilst we're here, we're also going to set up the meeting status of accepting the meeting. So we're going to go here and go to the meetings module, and we're going to edit the meetings module, and we're going to add a status, meeting status. Here we go. And this actually, I think this is a meeting status that I previously added before. This is a custom field, and the field label has to be meeting status, and then the options have to be invite sent or invites accepted. Meeting status, let me just confirm 1 second if meeting status is the one, because I remember having a conversation about this not long ago. Okay, so the API field name has to be current status. Meeting status could be the name, but the API field has to be current status. So I will just change this to current status. Current status with a capital as well. Then we got invite sent, invite accepted, and we need one more property for the time block. So let's edit that again. And we're going to add one more property for time block. I think that's what it was called, right? Time block. Let's have a look. Yes, time block. Time block. Done. Save. I'm just going to verify that the API name is meeting current status, not meeting status. So we're going to go back, and within the CRM, we're going to go to the API fields, and that's in here, Developer Hub, API, and then we're going to go to API names for the meetings and status. I'm going to search for that. Okay, so it still says meeting status. So we have to make sure that says current underscore status. Otherwise, you won't be able to have the status of meetings synchronized with the scheduler. So if somebody accepts a meeting, you want that meeting acceptance to be put through to the CRM so that you can see the status of the meeting updated as accepted. And if there's a field salesperson that is off, for example, you will notice that they're not available that day. And to give you an example, I'll show you this. So I'll go into the calendar of Zoho CRM, and I'll say tomorrow, for example, the 15th of November, well, it's a Saturday, so let's go next week. Monday, Tuesday the 18th. Tuesday the 18th between 9 a.m. and new meeting between 9 a.m. and let's say 1 p.m. or 4 p.m. or 2 p.m. I don't know, 2 p.m. let's say. And this will say Alex unavailable, right? So Alex is unavailable. Location, we'll say this is going to be in Southampton. All day, no. Related to Alex, yes. And then current status, we'll say time block. And we'll save this. So now we have a time block set up for Alex during these hours. And we're going to go back to the scheduler, and we're going to continue the configuration. So we're going to say operating days. Which days of the week would you like appointments to be offered in? We'll say Monday to Friday is good. And what times should the appointments be offered in? 10, 1, and 4 is fine for us. We could also expand the time the day starts and day ends. We can add more appointments, remove them. We can make them shorter if we want to as well. We'll keep it as it is now. So this is all good. We'll go to the next stage of the existing appointments. So in the existing appointment section, we have to define what is considered an existing appointment. So in our case, we'll say any account, because obviously the appointments will be located in the destination module. And in our case, the destination module is accounts. So if I look at the accounts module here, we have some example accounts. And we're going to say, for example, this one is an existing appointment. And it's an existing appointment because it has an appointment date and time. Yeah, so this one, we're going to make this one, let's say 1 p.m. Fine. When did I say Tuesday? Can't be Tuesday because Alex is off on Tuesday. So let's say Wednesday at 1 p.m. and the appointment date time end will be Wednesday at 3 p.m. for the sake of this example. And then we'll say the next one here. And in fact, it might make sense to, rather than do it based on the appointment date and time being filled or not, appointment date and time is not empty. That could be a value that we follow here, and we can save this. Like this, or we could make it even more obvious and we can create a status within accounts. So if I just go to edit this layout, so I can edit the fields within here, and I'll add a drop down. The drop down will be booking status, let's say, for example. And under the booking status, I'll create a booking status for booked. So booking status, and I'll say booked, and then not booked, for example. We'll save this and we'll go back to the scheduler application. Obviously, we need to refresh the fields, sync CRM fields again. And we're going to go to existing appointments. And instead of saying appointment date and time being not empty, we're going to say the status, booking status being booked. So that's a very clear way of determining if the appointment is booked or not. and it will then pull all the appointments where the status is booked, and that will be considered the existing appointments. The next section is appointment tiebreak rankings, and this is if you want to have, let's say for example, you have a lot of times where appointments are double booked for whatever reason, and you have multiple booking systems, and scheduler being one of them, and you may have the event where a single appointment is booked. More than one appointment is booked for the same slot, meaning same field salesperson, same date and time. So in the event that you have an appointment that is booked for the same field salesperson at the same time, who wins? Who takes the slot? So here you can create some tiebreak rankings, conditions, where you'd say, if the rating is, acquired, it will take priority that if the rating is market field, for example. And then that would automatically say, if there's two appointments, we'll look at the rating, and the one that's got the acquired rating will take priority over the market field. And if you want to change the order of this, you just swap the order here, and you can specify that setting. So the next section, and here we don't need a priority for rating, so we'll just take that out. No, I guess if the rating is blank, we don't need to worry about it, so that's okay. That's great. So the next thing we're going to do is we're just going to confirm that we have booking status as booked for the example appointments that we had. So we got this appointment here, and we're going to say status is booked. And then we're going to do one more example of another appointment. And we're going to say this is another existing appointment where we're going to say the booking status is booked. And the date and time of this one is going to be Monday at 10 a.m. And obviously the end time will be Monday at 12. Status of booked. Great. So those two slots are taken, and we need to confirm the billing code as well, because this is by default the data in Zoho is going to give us US data, and obviously the postcode has to be UK based for the current version of the scheduler. So we would need to make sure that the data we're entering is UK data. UK postcode related data. So billing code will say SO30, for example, 3JG, for example, and that will be two existing appointments in the Southampton area for these 2 days. Good. So next thing we're going to do is we're going to go through the rest of the workflow settings, and here we have a full day block rule. So a full day block rule is a condition, it's quite an advanced feature for certain organizations, where if you have a set criteria, so if, for example, an appointment is coming up that is of a particular criteria, I don't know, if you have, whether rating is a particular rating or any field, let's say you have a particular type of skill set required where an appointment is requiring a complex installation. So if you say the status is complex installation, then you can block out the whole day rather than reverting to the default duration of appointments. So again, it's used for advanced purposes. Another one is you could say, for example, if the postcode, if the billing code, for example, is within a geofence, right? So if it's within a particular geofence, which you'd obtain from JSON.io, so you can insert the coordinates of this geofence. So you can say if an appointment is in this particular geographical region, then book out the whole appointment because it takes us a long time to get there, or it's a complex place to visit, or whatever reason it may be. So you can block out entire days rather than just blocking out slots individually. The next section is the notification system. So you will receive notifications when customers accept the calendar invite. You'll receive notifications when they request a reschedule and other system notifications. And you can either receive them via Slack or via Microsoft Teams. All you need to do is you need to go to Slack and set up a webhook, or on Teams as well. And you can enter the URL here, save it, and you'll receive all the notifications there. The next section is your templates. And the templates, you've got a number of templates that go out to customers. The first, when an appointment is booked, or let's say when an appointment is agreed with the customer, a slot is booked agreed with the customer, they will receive an email, and it will be a meeting invitation. And that meeting email with a calendar invitation will be configured on here. So the first template is the email itself. And by default, we use a HTML file, which you can download. And if you download it, you can then view it and see what it looks like. And this is utilizing placeholder values. This is really easy to modify. If you just open it with a text editor or a code editor, you can replace these placeholder values, you can change the structure of the template, and you can do this with all the variables that we have down here. See, these are the app field variables, but you can also do it with CRM field variables. What I showed you earlier on the CRM system is that you can access all these variables from the API section of the CRM, so API names. So any of these modules will have variables. So we only work with leads, contacts, accounts, deals, and meetings, but you can pick any of the variables. So for example, under account, you can say record image, you can say account site, billing city, created by, etc. You can pick any of these variables and you can insert them into the template, and it will just pick it up when sending the email or the calendar invite. That's the second template. So here you've got the calendar invite template, which is the .ics file that gets attached to the original email. And then the next template is a thank you page template. So in the original email, you have a accept and a reschedule button. These two buttons are quite important because if you click accept, it will then trigger the thank you page template. And if you click reschedule, it will trigger the reschedule page template. So we'll see those in a second when we process a booking, but these are really useful to be able to configure and customize to your organization. The next section is the default meeting title. And here by default, it's going to be meeting with whatever your Zoho org name is. I think in this particular example, I think it's MKMC. So we should see meeting with MKMC when we process a booking. We'll see that in a second. And the final section is your actions. In your actions template, we have a send a notification to admins. This is where if a customer accepts the calendar invite, you'll get a notification sent via whatever notification system you set up. In this case, it is blank, so we'll take that out. We'll say send an email if you want to receive an email whenever a customer accepts an invite. And you can also change the status of a CRM meeting. As you can see here, it says you must add a drop-down field and the API name being current status and the include an option called invite accepted. So as you can see here, we had meeting status earlier on the CRM, and we had to update it to current status. So this is correct on the system. It was incorrect on Zoho. So I'll keep that ticked like we had a second ago, and we'll save. Also, rescheduling link. So if somebody clicks on the reschedule link, what would you want to happen? In this case, we'll just untick that. We can send an email as well, or we can send a notification to the system if we had one, and we'll save these settings and carry on. So what we have now is we have a basic system configured so that whenever we trigger a search from the system on the CRM system, it will then utilize the leads as the source, the accounts as the destination, and we will be able to book appointments. By default, every time a record is modified in your destination module, we will be triggering a synchronization. In this case, a sync was triggered 8 minutes ago because there's no records that have been edited in the destination module. You can also trigger the synchronization yourself from this button here, trigger synchronization. And that will trigger a synchronization that will pull all the existing meetings that you have based on the criteria that you've set into the scheduler memory so that we know when we process an appointment request, we know exactly what appointments are already in the diary. So for example, we're going to go to leads now where we're going to try and process a booking. So in this case, we're going to say this particular booking, we're going to say, well, the postcode is wrong. Oh, the postcode is correct here. That's all good. So now we're going to try and process this one. We're going to change the email to be, let's say, test, or I'll send it to one of the emails that we have as a test. And then we go and process the booking using the workflow button that is going to appear up here. Because this is a demo account and we've not installed it through the marketplace, we don't see the button, but the button should say something like schedule workflow or schedule workflow 1. And then when you click this button, what will happen is that the schedule application will trigger and it will be something like this that comes up. And in this case, I have not put the workflow in correctly because the workflow that I've typed in is workflow 1, but I believe we are on workflow 2 here. So we need to change this to workflow 2 because it's the workflow 1 is reserved for default workflows that get pre-launched. Workflow 2 is the workflow that will always start with by default. So here you can see we've got some available slots. We've got today, we've got Monday, what else? Have we got anything on Tuesday? Because Tuesday, so it was an issue with the URL that I entered, because I'm triggering it manually, I had to enter it correctly. And when you click on the button on the CRM, this issue won't happen. So refreshing the page allows you to see the appointment slots that have been provided as options. And what we have here is 4 p.m. today, Monday, 1 p.m., 4 p.m. Now, it's interesting that we don't have the option for Monday at 10 because we already have an appointment Monday at 10 that we booked in, an existing appointment. And also, we don't have the option for Tuesday morning because, as you said earlier on, we said Alex isn't available on Tuesday on the CRM. So Tuesday morning is not coming up as an option. Tuesday afternoon is because obviously Alex is available from 2 p.m. So he could then go to sit the 4 o'clock appointment without a problem. So let's go for Tuesday at 4 p.m. and let's schedule this appointment. What happens now is that we come up with the model that I was talking about earlier, where we request to confirm the email that goes to the customer. In this case, we're going to say, this email is fine, invite. And what happens now is that we're sending the invitation to the customer as an email invitation. And from the perspective of the booking agent, they would be filling out the information that has been requested for them to fill out, which in our case is the facts and the notes on record, which is what appears on the CRM as a note field, a note entry that the booking agent fills out. And as we provided earlier on, the order is account name, email address, field agent, booking date and time, and then the postcode. So we're going to fill this out. And in the meantime, we're going to see what the customer has received in terms of the email that's been sent out. So here's the email that gets sent out to the prospects, and the email is based on the template that we saw earlier on, but this time the data within the email is filled out correctly. You got Tuesday the 18th of November, and you got 4 p.m. to 6 p.m, and it gives us the address, and it gives us the postcode. Obviously, this is all coming from Zoho. That's why it's coming up with the US random strange address, but the postcode is what matters, being in Southampton. Field agent is coming up on the email because we've decided to have it on the email, and you got the participants of the meeting as well. The next thing we have is two options. We have the option, and by the way, before we go into these options, you've got also a calendar invite that gets sent out, where if you're in Gmail, it comes up. Actually, I'll show you what it looks like. Actually, I can't show you in Gmail because it's come through to this inbox, but in Gmail, you got the thing at the top that says meeting invitation, and it gives you the option to add it. But also, I can click accept, and that will trigger a new page saying, thank you very much. Your meeting has been accepted. The notification then gets sent over to us if we had set up the notification on Slack or Teams, and the customer or prospect has the option to then add it to their several calendars, either Google or Office, Microsoft, or if they wanted to add it to their Apple calendar, they can just download the ICS and do it from there. If I wanted to add it on Google, as you can see on here, I've got the Google invitation here with the right date and the right time, and it's all matching up with the details that we've set. So as a booking agent, I'll go and fill in the facts field here because I've taken this information over the phone, and I'm going to say this customer was extremely well-mannered, and it was a really good conversation. We spoke about their interest in the vehicle that we're going to be delivering, and it was an extremely good appointment, and we hope that the meeting goes really well. So this, for example, will be what we passing through to Zoho CRM when we're booking this appointment. And now we're going to try and process this booking. Now this, keep in mind, is the first booking that we process on this workflow. And one thing that we haven't done on purpose is we haven't gone through all the fields that are mandatory in our destination module, which is in accounts. So in accounts, we've got a number of fields that are mandatory. In this case, we've got the rating, account name is required. What else is required? That's it. Okay, so this is good because we don't have many required fields because it's a new account, it's a demo account. So we're probably not going to have an error like the one that I was hoping to come up with, which was an error because we haven't mapped enough fields. A lot of the times when you book an appointment and when you convert a record on Zoho CRM or you update a record, sometimes you require, especially when you convert a lead to an account, a deal, and a contact, you're required to enter specific fields. So under the required section, for example, on accounts, you see required, and in contacts, for example, what have you got required here? You got last name, that's required, but that should be automatically mapped. We'll find out in a second. Let's see. Okay, well, let's see if that gives us an error or doesn't give us an error. I'm going to check before we do this that we haven't got a contact on here with the same email address. And it looks like we don't. So let's give it a try. Let's give it a try and convert this appointment and see what we get off the back of it. So currently what we're doing is we're running a bunch of API calls to Zoho CRM to convert that record. It looks like it's processed successfully. So let's go and have a look at the lead that we had and see what's happened to it. So now the lead has been converted to an account, contact, and deal. As by default, whenever you convert a lead, it always creates an account, contact, and deal. In this case, the appointment is based on the account. So we can see the account's been created and updated with the data. The fax has been entered. The notes on record have been entered as well. And they're duplicated because these notes on record have been entered to the account, but also onto the event. And I'll show you in a second what the event shows. And by the way, the appointment date time and the appointment date end time are also being mapped and they're correct. And the owner of the account should be the field salesperson or the field agent, which in this case is Alex, as we requested earlier on. Under the open activities, we can see that there's an open activity with a meeting, and this meeting has been created and updated onto the CRM as we expected to have. And all the details, including the notes, are on the meeting record. So from the perspective of the field agent will be able to go on to their Zoho CRM application and see all the meetings that they have coming up, the location of the meetings, and any notes that the booking agent has left for the agent. So in a nutshell, this is it. This is the scheduler application, and we've gone through a workflow configuration. We've gone through a booking process, and we've gone through, oh, by the way, while we're here, let's go through and see what happens if you click on reschedule. So clicking on reschedule on the emails from the perspective of the customer, if they click on reschedule, you can see that it's been requested as a reschedule. So we'll click on reschedule, and when you click on reschedule correctly, it should open the reschedule receive request, and this is essentially telling the customer that we have received a reschedule request. An email goes out, or a request via the notification system goes out to the administrator or the user or whoever set up on the settings of the application under the notification system, and also under the actions. So in this case, we could have sent an email to admins or a notification to admins for the reschedule request. In this case, we haven't set it up, but this is the principle that would follow. You'd get the notification come through via Slack or Teams, or you'd get it via email if you prefer as well. So this is it. This is the scheduler application. You've got your quick start guide here with access to the full documentation on here. And you've got the details of how to get through to us on support by just emailing support@scheduler.so. One thing to notice is that your 14-day trial, in this case, it expired 20th of November. You can activate your subscription straight from here if you wish to. And when your trial comes to an end, you'll be required to activate your subscription. A little banner will come up at the top, but you can also do it from here. So this is the scheduler in a nutshell from start to finish. And yeah, any questions, give us a shout.